Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a ETTO podcast. I was going to say spoiler cast. It'll kind of be a spoiler cast, but of a different sort.
Yes.
I'm Ben, to start off with,
I'm Josh.
and we're here to talk about Zelda. This is your dream come true.
Yeah, we are. I'm so excited.
You have another
Got
person
my-
at ETTO to talk about Zelda with?
Finally.
Yeah.
It's great. Thank you,
Yeah,
Ben. Thank you for
that's all right.
joining.
That's okay.
Love my Zelda.
Yeah.
I've got my figurines. I've got my tattoo on my arm. Can't see
Yeah.
it, but it's
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah. I don't
For-
have a
for
tattoo.
video viewers.
I don't have a figurine, but I do have a shirt.
Do you have a shirt?
I have a shirt.
You
which-
are legend, Ben.
Thank you. I was basically only keeping that shirt for this purpose because I figured it'd probably happen at some point.
For sure. Awesome.
But yeah, obviously, big Zelda game has come out for the first time in 6 years.
Six?
Yeah, a bit over 6 years
Yeah.
since the last
Yeah,
Zelda
'cause
game.
It was March or April 2017.
Yeah, no, it was. I think it was March 2017,
March.
right when the
March
Switch
3rd.
came out, which is crazy.
Yeah.
The fact that this series is probably bookending the Switch is quite wild.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. That's the
but yeah.
guess from most people.
Yeah,
Switch is probably going to start winding down soon.
totally. But Josh and I obviously both played and loved Breath of the Wild. I'm speaking for you, but I'm pretty sure we've had the conversation many a time about it.
Of course.
Yeah, and we thought, as we're playing through Tears of the Kingdom, which has released about 2 weeks ago now. I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah. We thought we'd do a little in progress podcast. We're going to do a few of these over the next, I'm going to say, couple months. Depends really how long it takes us to play through these games. We'll be playing through it at different paces, as we'll talk about in a bit,
For sure.
because we have life commitments and all these kinds of things. But we thought, instead of doing a full spoiler cast at the end, which works for a lot of more story-focused games and other kinds of things, for this one, it would be more prudent to kind of do these little check-ins every now and then, where we kind of talk about what we've been doing in Hyrule, our Hyrulian Hijinks, perhaps.
There you go.
Yeah. We got that name
So
first
good.
time. We didn't
Yes.
spend ages agonizing over what that name was.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much in this game. There's so many like little stories, little side quests or little discoveries that you can make. That it would be so hard to wrap them all up in one podcast at the end.
Absolutely.
So we thought, we'd come together, we'd just discuss it as we go,
Yeah.
which I think would be really fun. And
Totally. And
yeah,
I'm sure
it'll be easy to remember.
Yeah, totally. I'm sure over the course of it, we'll like specifically say something to the other person. They're like, "Oh, wow, I didn't know about that," and then that'll lead us to go off on our own adventures in the game, which I think is really fun.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that many people have been talking about with this game, is that there is just so much to do, and there are so many secrets. There is so much love poured into it that it feels like you can't cross like 10 meters of this map without something popping up for you to do, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah. And it's in a way that other games that have so much to do, it's so different to those. Like your Assassin's Creeds and stuff. Like they have, so much. Obviously, you open the map after a couple of hours of playing when you've unlocked everything, and there's just way too much to do and see. But in this, there's so much character and charm to every interaction and everything that is available for you to do.
It's so
There's something different about this formula to an Assassin's Creed or a Far Cry or something like that.
Yeah.
Where there's just so much to do, but it's like you're so excited to find the guy holding his sign up.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Oh, we'll talk about Sign Guy. I love Sign Guy so much.
Totally. He's the best.
But yeah, I totally agree. And it's like, I think it's this combination of just having really well written like side quests / other activities that you can do, or really like creative choices for that in a way that I think maybe only games like The Witcher and a couple of other ones have really hit like that level of side quest quality. And even this game over Breath of the Wild, I would say, has another level of like side activity quality that game didn't quite have. And then combining that with the power of the sandbox of this game, which is just absurd. Again, we'll get more into that part of it. But I think combining those together means that, like, it can be overwhelming at times. I've literally put the game down a few times because I'm overwhelmed by how much there is to do. But at the same time, whenever I do something, it's out of a genuine, like, it's rarely ever ticking off a box. It's like, oh no, this is like actually exciting me. I'm going to go do that and find out more about this weird little character.
Totally. I've been almost the opposite to like being overwhelmed. I'm like, I can't put it down.
No,
so
totally.
Last night at maybe a bit before 1 o'clock, I completed the first dungeon in the proper quest line. So I went to the Ritos and finished off their dungeon. And I was like, yep, I'm done. I'll just, I'll just go, like, I'll go over here and just see, like, I'll talk to Joshua, see what they have to say about this stuff. And then I just didn't stop. Like, it just talked to them, and then something else came up, and something else came up, and then next minute it was 2 o'clock. And I'm like, holy crap, that was over an hour that I was like, just one more thing. I can just do one more thing. And they're like, each one more thing is about 5 to 10 minutes.
Totally. Well, I think this speaks to the different ways in which we're playing this as well, because you, I would say, are much more time poor than me at the moment. So you are really just getting in your time when you can, which means I totally get that as soon as you have that moment, you're like, oh, but I just go do this little thing. And when I was, my early moments of playing this game, 100% that was always the thing. I think when I was at a similar point to you in the game, I was like, I think I finished the Rito thing, and it was a similar, like, early in the morning. I was like, I'll just do a few more things, a few more shrines, and time just, like, goes away. And I think that totally is still happening with me in the game, but I've been playing a lot more than Josh. I've had a bit more time to, like, I spent a lot of the weekend playing through a bunch of the game, and it's less that, like, when I actually get into the activity, that exact thing happens where I just get lost in it, and eventually I'll, like, finish it, and it'll be 1 a.m., 2 a.m., because time, never with another game, maybe with a couple other games, but never quite in this way has time, like, ceased to exist when I play this game. I lose track of time in a way that is so scary, because you just get so enthralled by it. But it's also more the thing of, like, I'm also trying to keep up with some other people I know who are playing, keep up with the general discourse around it, I'm, by nature of my job, online a lot, so I'm trying to avoid major spoilers. I've had to take an attitude where I'm fine with, like, little fun bits and, like, little side things getting spoiled, but I'm trying to avoid, like, main plot spoilers and that kind of thing, which means I've had to somewhat push myself through that, which has led to a little bit of this weird juggling act of wanting to play the game my way, but then also trying to, like, play enough of it that I can, get to the point where I can talk to other people about it. Because that's the other part of it. That's why we're doing this podcast, is you want to talk to people about it. So if you have, like, I have other friends I know who are, like, a bit further along in the game than me, and I want to be able to get up to that point so I can talk to them about, like, all these cool things. Totally. It's just, I think this is culturally is a moment that I think is very exciting, because we rarely get a game that is so, like, feels like everyone's playing it, or everyone who would at all care about this game, like, not a will, but, like, anyone who is remotely interested in this game is playing it. My mum is playing it.
That's awesome.
Because she played Breath of the Wild and she loved it. And my mum playing it has led to my sister, who lives with them. She started playing through Breath of the Wild because she's had it for ages and hasn't. So it's like Zelda is, like, pushing through in a way that I feel like it hasn't in a long time, and I think that's super cool. Totally. It's so fun to be able to have this kind of, like, water cooler moment, but water cooler in the sense that it's Twitter. And TikTok. Sure. Yeah. TikTok is crazy at the moment. I'm sure you've been on TikTok, but it's insane with Zelda clips.
I've seen a few things. I don't go on there often, but I go on there to watch everything that Dolphin Pants has tagged me in.
Yep, totally.
That's pretty much my consumption of TikTok, is whatever Dolphin wants me to watch. Yeah. And yeah, I love, and I've seen this on, like, Twitter and Facebook and stuff as well, the videos or pictures of just, like, people's friends list. Yeah. And every single friend is just
Yep.
playing Zelda.
Yep.
Like,
Every
there's
time
no other game
the
like
little
this.
green thing pops up in the corner, and it's just some
Yep.
random person I forgot was on my friend list is playing Zelda, and I'm like,
Yep.
everyone is doing
Every
it.
single time. Like,
Yeah.
I can't think of any other game that has done something like this ever.
Well, it's remarkable because it's like Breath of the Wild was obviously like huge, and I think brought Zelda forward for a lot of people who'd never played Zelda before. I mean, I'd played Zeldas before, but it brought Zelda as like something I was really interested in and went back and played other games since then and stuff. But this game hitting in ways I couldn't have anticipated. I think I don't have the specific numbers up, but the early sales numbers were insane for it. It's probably going to be one of like the top 3 or 4 highest selling Switch games, which is like Animal Crossing and Mario Kart Deluxe levels of like insane. It'll definitely outsell the first one. When I was in Sydney when this game came out. I went to Broadway Mall in like the center of Sydney, and I have not been present in a video game store, like a physical store, in so long on like a release day. I will go decently regularly still these days. I will go and pick up a physical game on release day because it's cheaper, and I kind of like the activity of going and doing it. I've never seen a line, let alone the size of the line I saw for this game going out the door of Broadway JB Hi-Fi. It was like, and this was just to pick up pre-orders. It was very funny because all these people had pre-orders, and then I walked in and I didn't have a pre-order there because I knew I'd be in Sydney, so I didn't know where exactly I'd go to get it. So I was waiting in that line, and then someone came along and was like, "Are you buying the game?" And they just took me over to another counter to purchase it. So I was out really quick.
And you got in and out faster than the people picking up a pre-order. That's amazing.
It was so funny. But seriously, like I was like, why are people lining up in a game store to buy a game? This is crazy. Let alone a Zelda game, which I feel like Mario's always had like the power for Nintendo, but the fact that Zelda is really
even Mario
having this
Odyssey, I feel like people didn't jump on as much as this.
Yeah, it's wild.
There's something about this, and every time when I drive out to my fiance's place, which is nearly an hour on the other side of Melbourne. So I live east and she lives west. I drive past 3 Tears of the Kingdom billboards on my way. Like,
it's almost like this.
One or two of them are like, on the West Gate, or whatever, and then one of them is like out west. Like it's just another 15 minutes out of the city.
I think it's
there's another billboard. It's
nuts. A little bit of like
just everywhere.
This game's. We'll talk about the game in a second, but it's
we will. Yeah.
I think it's worth talking about this because it's like, I think it's part of it is maybe the 6 years since the previous game, which was a massive hit, is kind of built up this like mythos, this real life mythos around what Zelda is and what Zelda could be, and Nintendo feels like they're really capitalizing on that and have realized like people want to play this so much, and I think that's super cool. And I just think in general it's a crazy moment to be in. Should we talk about maybe? Let's talk about where you're up to in the game, and then I'll kind of tie in how much I've played, and like we'll talk about it a bit and stuff. Yeah,
cool. Yeah. So I have just finished the first Rito area. Yeah. I've spent quite a few hours with it before that. I didn't quite mainline the story to the Ritos.
Yeah.
When I jumped in, I did the first tutorial. Actually, I did the opening tutorial, and had loosely IGN's like top 17 things to do early on.
Yeah.
And I followed, like, I read through those because they have some really good information on, like just different, where to start different side quests.
Yeah.
And
bits you don't want to
like
miss.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just like good tips in general, like, stockpiling some capsules.
Yeah.
Zonai capsules with all the building materials and stuff.
Yeah.
So things like that, and in the Great Sky Island tutorial area, there's also like a shirt or some pants that allow you to handle the cold just like
Yeah.
a little bit more than
Yeah.
he would normally be able to do naturally. So that was like super helpful in the IGN thing.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I had anything spoiled either. I just sort
Yeah.
of
Totally.
would
Totally.
I would lightly read it and just find out where this thing is, and then
Yeah.
I'd go there and try and experience it kind of firsthand.
Yeah.
But I did a bunch of those, so found the guy with the sign, mainlined the quest up to getting the glider, finding can't remember her name, but the scientist lady who was
Pura?
you got to sorry.
Pura?
Not Pura, the other one.
Impa?
Impa,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Found Impa as you look over the glyphs, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
They have a much longer name, but I can never remember what it is.
Geoglyph. You're close.
Geoglyph. Yeah. So finding her, starting that side mission, the well lady, some girl in a well that wants to discover every well.
I didn't find that one till super late. I just jumped in a well, quite a while into the game and was like, oh, hello.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't have even gone in a well or known that I could go in a well if it wasn't for that IGN article.
Yeah,
I think I
yeah.
would have just seen it and thought that it was just a decoration.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought to jump down there. But yeah, it did take me a while too, because I kept jumping into different wells and discovering them.
Yeah.
And then eventually I found the lady.
Yeah.
And then I accidentally came across the dude that wants to turn into one of the frogs.
I love him so much.
Yeah?
I love him
He's
so much.
so bizarre, but he's great.
I actually only encountered him 2 days ago. And so
Okay.
I'll just weave in the point I'm up to at this point. So I have, as of last night, I finished 3 of the temples. So
Wow, nice.
it's not a spoiler to say that I've done the Rito, the Zora, and the Goron one now. So I just haven't done the Gerudo. They're the 4 regions. You know those. It's fine. I won't say any more than that. So I'd done all of those, and then I was talking to a friend, and I was like, where the fuck is this bubble frog guy? Where do I give these gems? Like, I don't understand. Because I had not for the life of me found where he was. Turns out, obviously, he was all the way back at that stable that you kind of go to pretty early on. And so I was like, okay, I have to go back there. Finally found him, and I just had all these gems stocked up. So once you give it to him, he goes off to near Tarrytown, and that's kind of I think where he stays, although he might move again. And so I just started, when I finally got him to move over there, I just went there and fed all my gems to him. And the noises he makes are just the freakiest little noises. I just constantly had them on loop, and my girlfriend was sitting in the room also playing the game at the same time. I was just like, what's coming out of your Switch? What? Who is this freaky dude?
Yeah, I would imagine like people outside my apartment, like in the other apartments, if they were walking past, listening to some of the noises that are coming from the people in this game, because they're almost kind of sexual.
Yeah,
It's like,
ooh, no, totally,
like just weird noises,
and really exaggerated, especially with those particular guys. I can't remember their names.
Yes.
Felton, I don't know. Something like that.
Don't remember.
Very
he's
weird
super
looking
fun,
dudes.
and the rewards that he gives you are kind of references to like Majora's Mask.
Yeah,
So
totally.
they're like enemy masks, or so far I've only gotten a couple of them, but I've gotten like a Moblin mask. And when you put it on, you can go up to a bunch of Moblins and they won't attack you. They'll come over confused and a little bit suspicious, but they won't attack you until you attack them. Which is super handy. So it's sort of like Majora's Mask, sort of turns you into them a little bit.
So have you gone to the
that.
other place and talked to him, or have you just talked to him that once?
I've found him one more time, but I don't think I was near Tarrytown.
Oh, okay, maybe he does go to other places.
But
But
I feel like he's kind of like one of the guys that travels around.
totally. They would have teased like there's a bigger set of armor you can get. I think the more and more you feed him is in his shop.
Right.
Cool. I won't say specifically what that does because it's quite cool. But I'm excited for you to see it because I haven't used the armor yet. You'll understand why I haven't used it yet when you get it. But it's a very there's just a very creative use of game mechanics and stuff. But also in a way that feels very Zelda-y. I liked it.
Nice.
But yeah, I guess speaking of like all the just random, we're not even really talking about the main story at the moment, because we'll maybe talk about it a little bit in a little while. But I feel like one of the joys of this game, as we've talked about, is all these little dudes, all these random people around the place who have their own little activities they're doing. Can we talk about Sign Dude? Can we talk about Sign Guy?
Dude is the best.
What's his name? He's specifically got a name. I need to find the name.
Is it like Howard or something?
No, well, because all the people from like Hudson's building company, they're all Hudson, like something Sun. So he's something. He's one of those.
Addison.
I think
Addison,
so.
aka Sign Guy.
Yeah. Addison. Yeah, I love him so much. He's so funny. So basically, for those who haven't played the game, if you're following along with this and you haven't played the game, or you're not going to play the game, and you just kind of want to hear our thoughts, what he does, he works for this building company called Hudson's Building Company, which in Breath of the Wild was the company that helped you build a whole town called Tarrytown, which also is quite cool that that's just a town in this game. So like canonically, you did all that, even if you didn't do that in the first game, which I think is fun.
Yeah, it's cool.
But anyway, because they built that town, he's now like Hudson Company is a big company within Hyrule and stuff. And so Addison is going around putting up all these signs of Hudson's Building Company all around Hyrule, just at random places on the road. Sometimes not on the road, I found. He's sometimes just in very, very odd places.
Totally, yeah. And isn't it like, for some reason, Hudson's the president?
Yeah.
He keeps on talking about Hudson being a president. Yeah,
he's the president of the company, yeah.
Oh, just the company.
Yeah,
He's not
well, I think
the president.
But I think the company is in control of Tarrytown, so technically he'd be the president of Tarrytown. You know.
I guess, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
sure.
But yeah, he's just got all these signs lying around, and you have to. It's such a cool little way of making you use the kind of the building mechanics of the game, but in a not super like stressful environment, because you're just. You can literally just cobble together the randomest structure to help him keep this sign afloat, because basically he's holding the sign with all his life, and you need to help him keep it standing for long enough that he can like tie it up and fix it all up. And yeah, sometimes the sign is like fully like askew, like part of it is going upwards. Sometimes the sign is really wide. There's all these different. I don't know why the signs look so different, but it makes it a fun little activity to do. And as I said, just like a super fun and low pressure way to get you to use the building stuff, and also give you some nice little rewards. It's nice little rewards to get every now and then. He gives you like 20 rupees every time, and some food, and some other stuff. Sometimes a bomb flower, which is handy.
Nice.
So yeah, no, I think I mean you can talk about Sign Guy as well, but I think he's lovely. I love him.
Yeah, he's great. Like, it never takes more than a couple of minutes.
Yep.
To like figure out the little puzzle and stuff. And there's always the building materials nearby, close enough at least.
No, not always.
No,
most of the time. But I found one or two where you had to kind of work some stuff out.
Okay, I found one where there weren't, but I just had to cobble together some other things. But yes.
Yeah.
But
it's great. Totally. So there's always building materials nearby, and always somewhat the right building materials, like the correct ones for the task, which I think is cool. And yeah, I think it's just super fun. I'm never upset to see him. I see him on the side of the road, and I'm like, well, I got to help you out. Like, I can't let you hold up that sign forever.
Everyone loves him too.
Yeah, totally.
Like, the internet has just clung to this sign.
It's so easy, and I think this is the beauty of like this game's all the little bits and pieces this game has to do. Korok puzzles, everything from the first game added on with like Sign Guy in the second, and these other bits and pieces is unlike a Ubisoft game where it all would feel like it's literally on your map and it's there and you have to go and just do all the things. None of this, like, I'm never upset. Like, even when I see a little Korok guy that needs help, I'm like, where have I got to get you? Have I got to fly you over to, like...
Yeah.
And so there's joy to even the little menial activities that wouldn't exist within another game. That is super fun. So yeah, love Sign Guy. Sign Guy has been probably my favorite side thing in the game to do. I think there's quite a lot of side things, so maybe I think so. I think he still stands up there.
Nice.
But yeah,
hey, good pun. I like it.
Oh, it was good pun. Thank you.
One of the other things I did early on was also running around to, not all of them, but I went to like a lot of the sky towers to just unlock stuff. So probably like the main inner circle. All around central Hyrule, I went and got all of them. So probably the ones just a little bit further out of each direction I haven't got yet. But I just ran around just to get a bunch of those to make fast traveling easier. And then if I happen to see a shrine or something, then I jumped on those too. But that was just a fun little thing just to explore the world. I think that's how I came across Frog Guy. And things like that was just
because he's got like a very bright balloon that is easy to spot. The towers. The tower animation in this game is fantastic. I
love the first one. The first time
when he gets freaked out.
The claws come out, and you're like, "Holy crap! What is happening?" Like even I was like, like what is going on? But they've repurposed the weird little like crawly guys. I forget what they're called now.
Guardians.
In Breath of the Wild, the Guardians. So like the Guardians tentacles and stuff, they've repurposed those to hold Link in place, to like put stuff on him before they shoot him out. And the first time it happens, the animation is awesome because there's just pure fear and like, holy crap, like fight or flight kind of
swallow the music
response.
All that.
It's great.
It's so good.
It's really cool.
But then the actual animation where it like launches you up into the sky and then it's like your pad is scanning it and you got like this tether and everything. It's just so well done. Every time I've gone to a tower, I'm sad I have only one tower left that I haven't gone to, and I'm kind of keeping it because I want to experience that little animation one more time.
Should have been the last time.
But it's so good, and every time you do it, because it I think because it launches you so far up in the sky, even compared to the last game, the fact that it just genuinely lets you survey like the whole area below you, like it also can throw you near some sky islands and stuff, which I will say I haven't spent a lot of time in the Sky Islands yet for the game.
Me neither.
Which is, as you can see next to Josh, a lot of time spent in the sky. I've not spent a lot of time up there. I've spent arguably more time in the depths, which is the big thing that we weren't expecting, which is that there's a whole underground area.
They didn't advertise that much.
But I spent probably more time down there than the sky. But I think because it launches you so high up, I love just the fact that you can survey everything below you and kind of be like, oh, okay, I'll go down there and there, in a way that you couldn't even really do in Breath of the Wild because you were just at the top of the tower. And it's having those fast travel points I've found out is a really good way of, I like almost always fast travel there if I'm looking to get to a certain place in an area because it just launches you up and then you can just like, every time you go back there, you just glide or dive back down. I didn't really go and get many of the towers until a couple, I'm going to say 4 or 5 days ago. I was like, all right, I'm just going to do all the memories. I just want to get all the little geoglyph memories done. So I was like halfway through the Zora storyline on the way to do that temple. So I'd already done the burrito one, and that was the second one I did. And I was like, all right, I'm not really vibing with this right now. I think I just want to go and get the memories because I've already gotten a few, and I was really intrigued by the story that was going on. And I'd gotten a few really cool ones that I was like, okay, I need to know more about this. So I went and got all of them and kind of uncovered more of the story.
They're cool. I really like that. I'm super intrigued by that side story. And I have also had the thought of like, I kind of want to just go do the geoglyphs and find out what the hell's happening there.
I would say it's totally worth it. The payoff at the end is worth it. It's a beautiful payoff in the end. A few times I've nearly cried in this game, and that was one of them.
Wow, sick.
And I think, I think the way they're kind of feeding you these memories in this game, I love it. I loved the little mini game of it so much more than I did I think the last game you just had a picture and you had to find where that picture was on the map.
Right. Yeah.
And
I didn't remember what that was.
Yeah.
I barely got any. I think I accidentally came across a few, and that was it.
Yeah, I went back and got them all in the last game because you got like a little extra cutscene at the end, I remember. So I was like, I'll make sure I get them all. But in this one, it was like, it was fun kind of seeing all the shapes that you have to kind of go and get. There's like I assume you've done it. There's like a room you go to with Impa where you have to like take a picture of like a map, which shows you where all of them are.
Yes.
Yeah. So I liked that you kind of could look at that map and be like, oh, this one's kind of probably here on the map and all that kind of stuff, and then work it out.
Yeah.
And each of the little like glyphs is a certain like has relevance to the cutscene you're about to see, to the memory you're about to see, which I think is super cool. And yeah, I loved going on that little journey. It took me to all the corners of Hyrule. As I said, I basically got all but one of the towers at that point.
Yeah, nice.
And then at the end of it, I was like, that was worth. I spent like it took me most of a day to go and do all that, and then I was like, no, this was a day well spent. I will say, good. Because of it, and because of some of the stuff you get from it, I do feel a little bit OP now. But that's okay. I've gone. It's allowed me to kind of go back, and I think I wanted to like get those memories early because it kind of reinvigorated my desire. Because I was like halfway through the Zora bit, and I wasn't really like vibing doing the main story kind of stuff. So I was like, all right, I wonder if I go get more of the memories, if that'll kind of like kick me back into gear. And I think it kind of did, because now I'm like, oh, okay, now I know this about the story. I want to like kind of go and explore, go and do like these other main quest lines so I can like deal with what I've learnt and all that kind of stuff. And I think,
nice.
It's so the way they kind of feed. You have like 3 or 4 main quest lines at any one point, and the way those main quest lines kind of feed into each other, I think, is really good, because you're kind of like, it's not stressful. It's pretty easy to juggle where you are at any one of them at one time. And as I said, like, you could just power through all the 4 temples, or you could power through all the memories, and if you want to, there's not a lot of restrictions placed on you in that sense, which I think is good.
Yeah, for sure.
So, obviously, you said you've just completed the Rito Temple with the Sky Wind Temple. I think it's called the Wind Temple.
Yeah, the Wind Temple.
Yeah. How did you feel about that? What were your thoughts on that? I thought it was very fun. I loved it. Yeah.
I thought it was freaking great. It was so good. I thought it was designed really well. And yeah, there was no part where I was particularly stuck for too long. But they had really good, like, there was just enough information in the various parts to figure out how to get anywhere. The one fan that you had to activate right at the bottom. You could get to it from a staircase. Well, you could kind of see it from a staircase from the middle level going down, but there was like bars and stuff. And I was looking in there for a while. I'm like, how do I get there? I don't know. And then just off to the right, you just see like a little break in the side of the temple, which the temple is a giant flying boat. So you're like, oh, I guess I can get to it from outside. So I went up the staircase, around the corner, and I was about to like jump out the window, but then I was like, oh, wait, there's like a drop here. Like inside that basement. And so I went there and I looked down around the corner, and sure enough, there is a hole in the side of the boat where you can jump in from the middle level. And it was like there was just enough information, and you were just able to see enough to figure out what to do. And it, even though it's quite simple, it makes you feel like a genius. Like, it was so good. Totally. I really enjoyed the creativity of the final boss too, of the boss of that. Like, it wasn't like you weren't fighting.
Yeah, totally.
There was a creativity to not having to fight. You had to fall through the enemy
so you locations. did it that way. Okay, so this is interesting because
I guess there's another way to do it. I guess you could have.
No, so you and my friend Matt, who you know, have both done it that way, where I assume you dove through the back of it and hit the thing, which is one way you can damage it. The way me and most other people I've talked to have done it is just by firing like fire arrows and stuff into the back of it. But your way is way cooler. And when I heard that he'd done that, I was like, that is so much cooler, and I wish I'd done the fight that way, because I ran out of fire arrows at one point, so I was kind of just like, it took a few more arrows to like break through the things and stuff, and I was like, okay.
Sure.
I didn't love that boss fight as much, but I think that's kind of partially because of the way I approached it. But again, it's the game lets you approach it in multiple ways.
Do what you want. Yeah. I think just leading up to the Wind Temple, there were so many...
By the way, lead up was great. Bouncing on the trampoline boat, so
fun. Yeah. And it's like, it's long too. Like it takes you like an hour just to get from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
And it's just like platforming and gliding across and stuff, and using the little dude's Tulin.
Oh, I love Tulin.
Ability.
Tulin,
He's so fun.
Tulin's great, and his ability, super useful. Definitely out of the three I've got, is still the most useful, because it's basically... in Breath of the Wild, you had what was his name? Rivali. You had Rivali's one, which pushed you up, which was super useful. That was also probably the best one in that game. And then, but the fact that initially I was like, oh, it pushes you like straight. That's not as good. But the use I've got out of it, flying to places, is like it's very strong. And he's also just a lovely little character. I liked him a lot.
He's great. But there's just a few points along the lead up to the Wind Temple where you jump and break through ice. So as soon as I saw exactly the same ice, I'm like, okay, cool.
Well, again, when I was in the lead up, I didn't fall through the ice. I didn't even think of doing that. So it's a thing of like... I just was using like arrows to break through them and stuff, which is very inefficient.
Because you're using heaps of resources.
Interesting.
Cool.
But yeah, no, so totally. And I think talking about like the temple itself, I probably took a bit longer, got a bit more frustrated with it. You're right in that a lot of the solutions were well planned out and stuff. There are a few moments where I was kind of trying to brute force my way through bits. But again, this is the game where brute forcing through things is a viable strategy, and the devs have specifically like come out and said like, we love the weird solutions people come up with. Like, we purposefully gave you this sandbox so you can randomly ascend through this tiny bit of stuff to get up to the top of something, and like the fact that
this was the thing that reminded me that Ascend existed as well. The whole lead up, because I barely used it. Whenever I went into a well, I forgot that I had Ascend. So I teleported to a shrine.
Oh, that's so funny.
I totally forgot that I could just ascend through the ground. Until now. Now I use it like all the time.
No, totally. It is a thing of getting yourself out of the climbing thing of Breath of the Wild, where you're like, oh, I climbed that, and then you're like, hang on. Oh, there's a thing I can go up through. And it's super, super arguably, I would say, not even arguably, it's probably the most useful ability, just because it lets you get places so much quicker and stuff.
And I've heard that it was a debugging thing that one of the devs made, because they just needed to get up places as quickly as possible. So they're like, oh, just make some code that will spawn me on top. And they're like, this is actually a cool ability. Let's make a full animation and turn it into...
totally. And it just like, it synergizes with the game so well, because like it works with the sky stuff, because you're going up, and then it works when you're down in the depths and you need to go like up through stuff. I think it's just, it's super good. I'm glad you liked the Wind Temple. As I said, out of the three I've done, I think the water one is still my favorite, but the wind is second, and it's a close second, because I think there was one too many fans. I felt like 4 fans. I think it was 5 that you had to do. I think 4 would have been the optimal amount. And that was kind of, I think the last couple, I was like, oh man, I really wish I could just be like done with this now and fight the boss. And there were a few moments where I just got completely lost. But I think that was more on me not looking around enough. But I loved the setting of it. I loved the giant boat. I love the little bits of lore you get on the ground when you're hanging out with the Rito, and they're talking about, I can't remember the specific name of it, but it's like this arc that is like in Rito history and stuff.
It's like it's like a kid's poem, like a little kid's song. Is essentially actually like a prophecy of this huge thing that's going to happen, but everyone just thinks it's a song until it happens.
And overall for the temples, I think it's a really good progression from the divine beasts into a more more dungeony kind of setting. I think it's about as far as you can go in a game the style of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. Like, you can't go full Zelda dungeon, in my opinion, in one of these games, but I think this is getting pretty close to what you can do with it, and I think they like learn a lot of lessons from the Divine Beast. The bosses, each of the different bosses has felt unique to me so far. I'm excited for you to meet some of the other bosses, because there's one that I especially enjoyed, and nice. I think it's like each of the temples I've also been to has felt like unique in its own way, in a way that the Divine Beast didn't quite. They all had the same kind of look and vibe and aesthetic and stuff, and so I think they've learnt from that in good ways, but they've still kept a lot of what made the Divine Beast good, I think, which was the puzzle solving and that kind of thing, which I think has been great. The other thing I want to briefly touch on, you've been in the depths a little bit. Have you spent much time down in the depths?
Not a whole lot, honestly. I was going to ask you about that too. Yeah. I've only done it from the main story point of view. Working with Joshua and what's the other guy? Robbie, yeah.
Yes.
And Robbie. I've only sort of done that initial one.
Yeah.
But it's something that I've been wanting to do, because I found out some stuff today in watching, like, some of my workday is just having like Zelda tips on a YouTube video off to the side.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the things was that the depths are actually an inverted version of the world.
Yeah.
So if there's a mountain in the main world, then there's like a giant valley in the depths, which is really cool. And then all of the light routes, which are your like teleportation areas, like you go and activate stuff, directly correlate to a shrine.
They do.
In the top.
I think
every single shrine has a light route in the depths.
And I think the thing I learnt today, because I learnt that they were mirrored below the light routes, and I was working it out today. I think it's also specifically related to the ones you activate. So I think when you activate a shrine, it spawns a light route underneath it. Because I was finding every time I looked up and saw and checked if I had one above, I always had one above. So I think it actually, you can maybe make more light routes on your path by activating more. I could be wrong on that. That's something I'm not certain on, but that's a theory I have, which again is super cool. It kind of feels like you're growing the routes every time you activate a shrine, which would be super cool.
Yeah. So it forces you to explore the top and the bottom.
Totally. The depths,
sync them up.
Depth is super cool. As I said, I've probably spent a bit more time there than I have in the Sky Islands. The Sky Islands is something I want to spend more time on. But again, it's just, there's 3 different worlds to explore, so it's a little bit overwhelming. But I want to spend some more time up there. But the depths, I've explored a decent amount, and there's some really cool activities, some really cool discoveries that you get down there. Definitely keep following that main story thread they've got you going on, because I think pretty soon you'll come across, there's a very cool reveal in that bit that if you're not popping off about it now, you haven't experienced it yet. So that's a cool thing.
I'm probably almost there.
Totally.
I went back to Joshua after the Rito, and they want to go back down. I need to go back down for something else. So I'm pretty sure I'm close to the next.
You're close to it, and there's a whole thread that'll happen after that, which is a separate side adventure thing, which is cool. But there's new bosses down there. There's cool reveals and stuff. There's it's insane how much there is down there, and it's all pitch black to start with. You have to keep throwing light things to get around, which I think is.
I love that
cool.
mechanic too. That's really fun.
Yeah, totally. I started because it's very easy to be arrow poor in this game, so I started having to just like throw the seeds themselves rather than fire them with arrows, because I'm like, I can't do this. Oh no, you can throw it with your weapon. If you could go to throw your weapon, you can switch it to a material and you can just throw them in little like.
I thought you would have to, because I haven't done that. I thought you would have to throw it and then hit it.
No. Luckily you can.
Because I know that it does it with force. Yeah. Okay,
you can just throw it from your weapon thing. It's a bit finicky, but it's worth it when you have 200. When you have 200 of these seeds and you have like 50 arrows, you're like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. I will do that.
That's a good little tip.
Yeah.
That was also given to me by a friend. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. That's the one thing that I'm finding annoying is that single line of all of your resources to fuse it to an arrow or to throw it.
Yep. It doesn't get much better.
Not a great way to filter it either. Like,
yeah.
You can filter it in a way, but barely. Like, it's not really that helpful.
But yeah, the one I have it filtered by most used the most because it kind of just naturally puts the ones used the most at the top. But that also means you don't experiment as much, which is kind of like goes a bit back and forth. But yeah, I've really enjoyed exploring the depths. It's got major it's definitely got the darker side of Zelda vibes, a lot more like Twilight Princessy, Majora's Mask kind of vibes, which I like. Because this game gets pretty dark in some like plot elements, I'd say, and like pretty messed up. And even like initially, like the opening cutscene before you even like move to the era the game is set in is very creepy. And when like the skeleton comes to life and stuff,
destroys your arm.
Yes, destroys your arm.
Link
that's right.
Now has no arm.
No, he has a goat arm. He fused a goat arm to his arm.
Oh, is that what happens at the start?
He's got the goat guy's arm. Yeah, he's got the goat guy's arm.
Because I know like his arm gets damaged and then he gets the other arm.
Yeah.
The new arm.
Yeah.
But
that's the arm of the goat guy. Yeah, the king, Rauru. It's his arm.
I thought, because doesn't his arm get destroyed and then something happens? Or is that what the freaking demon underground does? Maybe I'm forgetting.
No, his arm gets destroyed. The demon... The demon gets rid of his arm, and then the other arm fuses to his arm. And
I did say say that he has no arm, but
and then he's
briefly.
now. It makes me think he's now like part goat guy. Link is just like got a whole arm of this different goat creature. So that's fun. It's fun. But yeah, it's super cool. One thing you would have noticed when you did the Rito thing, obviously you get the powers of the sage as you go. I like it. You're basically assembling the Infinity Gauntlet in this game. I don't know if you noticed that. Yep,
yeah,
cool.
Pretty much. That's true.
You got to go collect all the.
I like it.
Yeah, you got to go collect all the things to go on your little hand glove thing. So I think that's kind of fun. And yeah, I think that's a lot of what I have to say. I think the future ones of these are going to be more interesting because I think it's going to be a lot more of you talking about stuff you've done and then me kind of going on to elaborate this, which I feel like I'm just like dumping all my thoughts now versus being able to be more specific in general in future.
Yeah.
So
and they might be shorter in the future. This is just
totally.
Like a big initial overview of what we're doing, and then it'll be like minute little things in the future. But I would also, especially on the YouTube videos of this or in the Discord, do we have a channel for this game? Why do we not have a channel?
But I will make a channel for this game,
especially now with Hyrulian Hijinks channel in our Discord. You can get to that by going to
ETTO.card with two R's.
ETTO.card with two R's.
.co,
which will get you onto the I'm forgetting what the thing's called.
The Patreon.
What do you subscribe to? Patreon. Thank you. Patreon.com/each to their own as well if you want a direct link to it. Just a couple of dollars to get you into the Discord and you can come chat with us. But otherwise, leave some comments on the YouTube video and tell us if there's any like awesome little side thing that you've done that maybe we haven't mentioned yet.
Totally. I would love to know. Would love to know what people are doing. What are you gonna do next? What's your next little activity?
I'm gonna go back into the depths, follow that side mission, and then figure out, is there like a way to know sort of the next recommended
it'll tell you. People will talk to you about where, like, they'll just say the specific place where stuff is happening. Sure. I can tell you
I'll just keep going back to the main quest people.
The next recommended one is the Goron one, I think.
Okay.
But that I went off and did the water one because I didn't want to go to the mountain. I don't know why I didn't want to go to the mountain. I think I got most of the way to the mountain. I was like, I could not and then I was like going down a path, and I saw that I was near the Zora domain, and I was like, I don't have to play this game the way it's telling me to, so I didn't.
Yeah.
And that was fun.
Nice.
But yeah, it's interesting. There was, because I went back and did that afterwards, there was a kind of, I was worried that I was going to go back and like absolutely blitz through everything, which I didn't really. And there was also, it seems like there's some kind of scaling system in place. I think potentially definitely with the loot, there was a thing where whenever I was getting loot in the area, specifically like when I was doing main story stuff, it was giving me upgraded loot. The actual like power or durability of it was the same, but then it would have like, you know, sometimes loot has like a specific like buff to a certain thing, and it'll have like a little diamond and thing. So I was getting a bunch of loot with that as a result of going back there later. Cool. So I think there's some kind of system in place there, which is kind of cool. It means it's not totally, it doesn't feel totally wrong to do it in a different order if you want to.
Yeah, there's not like a beginner's area and a...
Yeah. There's definitely a path they lead you down, but cool. Yeah. Well, I think, what am I going to do next? Yeah. I think I'm going to take a bit of a break before I go and do the Gerudo, because that's the last of the 4 main areas to go and do. Maybe not too long of a break, because I do definitely want to progress this main quest and see where it goes. I think I'm at a point, there is so much to do in this game that I think I need to accept that I can finish the main story and keep playing for a long time, which is rare for me to do with the game. Often I will finish the main story and just put it down. But I'm pretty certain I'm going to keep going and going and going and doing all the side bits afterwards. So I'm kind of, I think there's a decent chance, but by the time maybe a couple of these down the road, I don't know how often we're going to do these, I will have finished the main quest pretty soon. But there's so much more. Like, again, I've barely explored the Sky Islands. There's all these weird orb-shaped islands I keep seeing in the sky that I want to go and look at. So I might go into one of those orbs soon.
There's one sky thing that I've done, which was like a falling gliding challenge.
Oh, that was cool. Yeah, I like that.
I've done one, and there seems to be like 3 or 4 in total to get like a full suit.
Yeah, there's a few of them. So I haven't found any of the other ones, but I've definitely done one of them. That was a lot of fun.
I also worked out how to farm rupees slowly, but because rupees are rare in this, from what I can tell.
It's pretty tough. Pretty tough.
You only really get them from selling stuff, but I found basically the flying school in Rito Village. If you do the advanced one, it costs 20, but once you do it a couple of times, you can consistently get your 20 back if you only get maybe like, if you go through about 20 rings in the challenge.
Yep.
But if you get like closer to 30, then he gives you 50 rupees every time, and you can just keep doing that. So you can farm them up, and you can get at least 30 at a time. I think I got 100 once, but I haven't been able to do it, and I haven't been able to complete the challenge in total yet.
That's good to know.
But to get a lot more rupees, it's a slow burn, but that's
that's good. That'll be useful, because let me tell you, Josh, the end game of this game is building your house. I bought a house, and let me tell you, the house building in this game is insane.
What? That's sick.
I will not say any more than that, but it is like you could buy a house in the previous game, but this is on a different level, and it costs money.
Could you? I don't think I ever did that.
You could purchase property. You could purchase a place in Hyrulian village in the last one.
You're right. I did that.
But you can buy a house. You can build a house, and boy, is there a lot of options.
Sick. That's unreal. Okay, cool.
So, but you will need money for that. So that is, if anything, that's the thing that's going to keep me going, is actually having to afford. I mean, it's pretty accurate to real life. Having to afford to have your own house is very difficult.
Yeah, so work for it.
I'm going to chip away at that, but I think next for me is kind of maybe exploring the sky a bit more, and then I'll kind of slowly head over towards the Gerudo area and get that done kind of soon. Cool. And we'll I think we should wrap this one up. It's been a long one, as we said, a lot to cover off the top, because it's kind of also just like our first impressions of playing the game. But
Yes.
in future,
I think
we'll
we
just
want to
jump.
try and keep these to like half an hour or something.
Yeah, which this is not, but that's okay.
Not this time.
We will in future. We'll just kind of like jump in and kind of catch up on where we're at. But for now, we're enjoying the game. It's a good game.
Yeah,
If you've listened to that and you haven't played it yet and you want to play it, go play it and stop listening to this. And maybe do listen to this. I don't know. I shouldn't tell you what to do. It's a good game. It's a good game, everyone.
So good. It's so much fun. I'm excited
Yeah.
to just continually talk about it.
Yes.
Frequently with someone else that's been playing it. I don't know many other people playing it.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Personally, I would have conversations with.
I have a small group of people that I'm checking in with, so it's good. So I can feed those bits of info to you as well, Josh, which is good.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Alrighty. Until next time, enjoy your hijinks through Hyrule. I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
Bye.
Bye, guys.